Good afternoon, welcome back to Baku after a bizarre start to proceedings here ahead of the Azerbaijani Grand Prix. We're moments away from what will be a busy second practice session. And we have situated ourselves here on the 24th floor of the Hilton. Great view of the city, great view of the main straight down here, Paul de Rest. And as we were saying, it was, if you're just joining us for the first time today, bizarre incident that occurred in FP1, which meant hardly any running.
Yeah, it's something that's occurred at other Grand Prix many years ago. It comes up on a few occasions, but this is not something you normally see. You can see Charles Leclerc, just significant amount of damage to that Williams car, so much so he can't even take part in the next session that's going to go ahead. They have done...
The driver looked quite confused, and then it was spilling hydraulic oil all over the front of it. So, yeah, I mean, just a horrible session for Williams.
Yeah, nasty. And like Claire said, I think this is actually the first race where they've had a spare chassis here. So fortunate that happened. But at the same point, for a team that's dented at the moment, trying to get that manufacturing up and running, we want to see them back up in the midfield battle that they have been. It's just a big impact. But hopefully that will be the bad luck gone. And from here on, it's the only way is up. But when you've not got a car running in the only session that you're going to get on a Friday, again, that hurts your weekend.
OK, let's hear what Claire Williams had to say. This is what she said when Ted caught up with her.
So tell us about your day so far.
Yeah, it never rains, it pours at Williams, right? We don't seem to be having a whole lot of luck this year, but I think potentially it could have been worse than it was. You know, drain cover coming off like that could have done a whole lot more damage. And, you know, George is fine, and that's the most important thing. And the FIA are clearly taking it incredibly seriously and making sure that every one of those manhole covers is checked, and it has cracked our chassis. Not beyond repair, but we can't repair it here, so we're going to have to deploy chassis 3 here for George. So clearly then means that he misses P2 this afternoon, but he'll get out tomorrow and run in P3.
Is it possible to put a financial burden on it?
At this stage, no, I couldn't tell you the exact numbers, but it's, you know, it's not in the tens of thousands, it's in the hundreds of thousands. But more importantly, I think, you know, we've just got ourselves back on our feet, certainly from a manufacturing perspective, after, you know, not getting our chassis to testing on time and the pressure that put into the system. And now they're obviously going to have this to deal with as well, when we were just starting to get all our upgrades pushed through the manufacturing process. So it's just really disappointing.
It couldn't be less of your fault. It's not your fault, it's not your fault, it's not your fault. Is there anything you can do, get from the FIA dispensations here or there? Recompense from the...
Clearly we're going to have to be talking to them about that. You know, we're an independent team and we have a very strict budget to control, and things like this that you can't anticipate. Nobody can, I understand that, but there clearly should be some recompense. I know that there's precedent. Haas, I believe, were compensated after it happened to them in Sepang a few years ago. So clearly we're going to be talking to them, but I can't put a number on it at the moment.
Although someone tried to, and at £500,000 and upwards, that's probably the most destructive manhole cover in the history of manhole covers, I would have said. But yeah, for a team like them who are struggling at the moment for finances, that's going to be hard to swallow.
Yeah, it does hurt. I think the biggest thing is just the impact it has on the weekend, more importantly, because a weekend costs more than that. But at the same time, it's something that is, you know, you just got to take as it happens. And when you're the first one there and you deliver that strike, it can hurt. You can see all the mechanics, obviously the work that they've got to go ahead. But the main thing is, like Claire has stated, that George is okay, and you know he'll be racing this weekend.
Right, enough on drains. We've talked drains a lot today, so let's get on to the racing itself. As I said, it's going to be a really busy session, this one, so a lot to keep your eye out on. Ferrari, we know, first significant aero upgrade here, whereas Mercedes have been developing all the way through. What are you expecting from Ferrari this weekend? They've got to win this, haven't they?
It's a must. They have to win. They have to take the momentum off Mercedes if they want to do something. It is very much like Bahrain, slow speed corners, high top speed, engine power is key. They've come here, different philosophy. They've got a much bigger rear wing like they've had in the first 3 Grand Prix here, so the straight line speed should be down, but their weak point is slow corner speed, so they're hoping that's going to give them something. Mercedes and the rest of the grid have kind of gone with a Canada, Montreal rear wing, which gives them a lot more top speed. It's something they've run here in the past. Clearly something different, but Ferrari have had a top speed advantage all year, so maybe that's the impact we're going to see, but they'll be quick on different stages of this lap.
They say that they've been struggling to get the car in the right setup window for the opening 3 Grand Prix. They're better on smoother circuits. This is quite a smooth circuit compared to some, so maybe that will play to their advantage as well.
Yeah, it is very smooth, and one thing to get the tyre working and in the right window here, it is cold, it's quite hard just with the slow speed nature of this track, but maybe that's why they've chosen that rear wing with the straight line advantage they've got. I really want to see how it plays out. Last year they were supreme, they had a fast car, they were unlucky, but this year they're up against it.
Yeah, Bottas was the man, of course, that lucked out with that puncture when he was leading the race, and it could have changed the course of his season. That said, it's been the best start to a season ever for both him and his teammate Lewis Hamilton. So Mercedes in control of the championships. Big weekend then for Ferrari and the rest. Practice 2's next.
Who didn't find FP1 exactly draining when it came to action on the track, hoping then that we get a little more in the next 90 minutes. Welcome along to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in 2019. This is FP2 and we are at round 4 of 21 in this Formula 1 World Championship. And the C2, the white striped hard tyre. We've got 19 drivers on the track for this session. George Russell won't be taking part because his car went over the loose manhole cover in the first practice session, caused a lot of damage to the car. They're going to have to change his chassis for this weekend, and that's why the repair jobs are going on in his garage at the moment, and as per the regulations, that's why Anthony Davidson, he won't be taking part until tomorrow, but at least he can take part because they've got a spare chassis.
Your heart has to go out to Williams and George Russell as well. He's got very limited experience, obviously, in Formula 1 around this track. He's only got FP1 to go by, and just after a lap or so, obviously he removed that drain cover and ran over it and did damage to the car, which, let's be honest, they can't really afford, both in terms of time spent at the factory. They don't really have the resources to react as fast as some of the, say, the bigger teams at the sharp end of the grid. That's the way it is at Formula 1 at the moment for Williams, and it couldn't have happened to a more unfortunate team. It's really unfair.
The good news, if we could take any good news out of this, is that early estimates that it might cost upwards of $500,000 might not be true. The chassis cracked and it can be repaired back at Grove at the team's factory. But in terms of bits, I asked Dave Redding, the team manager, can you put a numerical value on it? And he said round about £100,000 to repair the floor, to repair the monocoque as well. But it's not just how much we've got to spend, it's the fact that all those production parts that we have got in the system for developments, for performance, for Spain and onwards, now have to be taken out of the system because we've got to go back to a repair job and design new parts for that. So we're not improving our performance, we're just trying to catch up on the bits that are now broken.
You're always trying to play catch up in this game as well. Even when you're at the front, you're the ones with a target on your back and you're having to make as much progress as the guys behind. But in Williams' situation, they're trying to make more time than anyone else, and then stuff like this happens. And it's just one of those unfortunate situations. Like I say, couldn't have happened to a worse team really, who need to be making more headway than any other team on the grid.
So we're hoping to see some headway out on the track then. Let's get the latest on the state of the track with the race director for this race, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, from the FIA, Michael Massey. He's with Karun.
Michael Massey, thank you for speaking to us. It's been a busy morning.
Certainly has been.
Yeah. First of all, have you managed to work out what went wrong this morning?
Yeah, from what we've seen from our preliminary investigations, it looks as though one of the clamps underneath one of the manholes has actually failed. Okay. There's no explanation at this point as to why, but what we've done is, from a precautionary point of view, there's in excess of 300 manhole covers around this circuit, so we've checked every single one. From a FIA perspective, at the end of the day, safety is paramount, so we cancelled the end of FP1, and then with regards to F2 qualifying, moved that back, and we told the circuit, take as long as you need to make sure that the job's done properly. So from what we've seen so far, we're quite confident, and we'll go through a further program tonight and a program for the rest of the weekend.
So you've just been out in the safety car to have a look. Are you happy with what's gone on in the short time before?
No, absolutely. The short time, they've done a few further checks again, just to make sure, and everything seems to be in order. We've seen these types of incidents happen previously. I think Monte Carlo was the last one a number of years ago, and not something that any of us wish upon, but no different to a car. When something breaks and you don't know, it happens.
Okay, you've got a session to run. Thank you very much.
No problems. Thanks, Karun. Have a good day.
Cheers.
Michael Massey with Karun, and hopefully that's the last time we talk manhole covers in this session, because the cars are coming out, and it's Mercedes, Bottas and Hamilton onto the track straight away, because they didn't get onto the track, Ted Kravitz, at all this morning.
Hello, Crofty. Hi, everybody. No, they didn't. And yeah, we can just put that manhole thing to bed. There was something that, as Michael Massey said there, that they couldn't have told. They did check them on Thursday. So they were all checked, but this is something that they couldn't tell was happening. So everybody up in that race control room doesn't have to worry about that, or rather will be worried about it, but I'm sure it won't be happening once again. The bridge, the pedestrian bridge that the recovery vehicle hit, embarrassing for the organisers, but that is just down there. I think you can see further down the main straight. But shall we talk about Mercedes and Ferrari, Crofty? Because that's what you're getting into, and much more to check on in this session, both in terms of the new package of bits that Ferrari have brought here, but Mercedes as well. And Toto Wolff was one of the people in the press conferences between the sessions, or between the session that didn't happen in this session, and he's saying that actually he thinks this will be one of the toughest tests.
Interestingly, Ted, while you talk to us, Davidson, and we know the toe is very effective here if you can get it to work.
And so is braking as well, Crofty, and that's how you do it. If you run wide, nice little pirouette there from Valtteri. I don't think he's going to be the first, the last one doing that.
How close was he to the wall there as he spun
Do you remember?
round?
He did exactly the same thing in Monaco as well. No, didn't he actually touch the barrier in Monaco? I think he did and damage the car.
And Australia, when he spun round in Australia, he got a bit close there.
So we've just seen we've seen in the F2 series guys running wide and
executing the 29-point turn,
reverting to reverse forward, reverse forward. But that, boys, is how you do it.
Just watch this. He might actually have touched the wall there.
Did he touch that?
He might have touched it. I'd like to see if there's a scuff. Karun's going to head down that way in a bit.
Straight away, they've obviously got to go through an awful lot in this session as they missed out on FP1, and they're going to be doing short run pace, different tyre compounds, long run evaluation as well, like we often see in FP2. They're going to be looking at maybe the slipstream effect. They're looking at downforce levels. They're still doing their correlation work, what they wanted to tick off in FP1. We saw Ferrari with the Floviz paint on. They got a little bit of that work done, but they've got a huge amount to get through in this session.
And all of that, of course, would be lovely if they could use the tyres that they should have used this morning for this session.
Exactly.
But they can, girls. Why are Ferrari? Why do Mercedes think that this is their toughest test? Why do they fear Ferrari most here?
Well, my theory on this, Crofty, is I think what Paul was saying before up on that lovely viewpoint. Yeah, if you want. I think some people got confused, maybe you as well, got confused. Look, you don't run your Monaco downforce, your highest downforce package of the year at Shanghai, but you start the year with a good baseline package. So let's just call it, for simple sake, your medium downforce package. You come here with your low downforce package traditionally. Like we said, the straights are important. You've got to fly down those straights. You're going to be doing around about 215 miles an hour by the end of the straight here.
Right.
So, you know, it's not too far off of Monza levels, which stands alone as the lowest downforce track we go to. It's a completely bespoke aero package for that one race is Monza.
Yeah.
But what they run here is your low downforce package. So Ferrari having the fastest car in the straight line, usually, I think that allows them to run a higher downforce level around this particular track than, say, the likes of Renault or Red Bull or Mercedes.
Because the trade-off isn't as much.
Exactly. So they've still got their straight line speed advantage. That allows them to run slightly more downforce, which will give them better braking support and traction in the slow speed corners.
Just watching Valtteri Bottas heading down into turn one, and he won't be the last to lock up there either. So he's struggling a little bit, Valtteri Bottas. We've seen him go on at turn two, and we've seen him go on at turn one as well. We've seen it on a replay there, Anthony Davidson. Karun Chandhok saw it up close and personal right down at turn one. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, guys. A great view here down at turn one. Bottas went straight on in the runoff area, and in fact, that is number 99, Antonio Giovinazzi, is bang on cue, gone into that runoff area as well. So the drivers are struggling at the end of that very, very fast race. That was Bottas going past, no problem on that occasion. The Mercedes is looking really hooked up, by the way, into that corner. They're able to commit so much speed on the way in. The car just grips up. Charles Leclerc, a little more tentative at the moment for the Ferraris, but at this stage, I'd say it's the two Mercedes drivers that seem to have the most confidence. Daniel Ricciardo is the one who...
The aircraft is quite impressive when F1 cars go out here. I saw, obviously, what Karun saw down at turn 1 as the cars come underneath. There's a Renault heading down into turn 1. The noise is droned out, and there's a big lock-up by him, and he's went straight on. I didn't actually see it. It's amazing an F1 car, when it goes away from you, how much slower it looks than when you get the other angle that you'd normally be sitting in the grandstand scene, and that's a car coming towards you. But the most impressive thing about being up here, Crofty, I saw a helicopter from above. I don't think I'd ever think I'd say that. He is absolutely nuts. And he kind of hooked around this hotel that we're above, and here he comes down. We just get him. I mean, committed. Look at that. Bit of angle in there. But the F1 cars, you know, obviously this is the highest speed, one of the longest, I think it is the longest straight in the F1 calendar. Overtaken, I'm sure we will not be short of at the end of the weekend. And there's a Mercedes just passing an Alfa Romeo into Ferrari down to turn 1. Doesn't look quite as nailed on the brakes, like Karun was saying, and a Red Bull through, but they all sound the same from up here. The nice thing is, you can just get an impression.
Daniel Ricciardo there getting on the curb more than he would have wanted to. It was Daniel Ricciardo that went on at turn 1 whilst Paul was talking to us.
Yeah, it's really easy to get beached. Yeah, so that's him going straight on in turn 1. And yeah, you can easily get beached on the exit of that turn 16 curb. And someone in F2 got really close to hitting the wall there.
Well, you've got to get close, because that's the way to do the fastest times, right?
As Juan Pablo Montoya once said in an IndyCar race, close doesn't count.
I like that. Charles Leclerc, tentative or not through turn 1, has the fastest time so far, 1:46.1. We had a 1:42.7 from Daniel Ricciardo last year as our fastest FP2 time. Watch the track evolution in the next hour and 20 minutes, because I'm expecting it to be quite severe, because it started off very, very dusty once again, and the cars will clean up the track quite severely in the next few moments or so. We should be down to the 1:43s, I would imagine, by the end of this session. It'll get a bit cooler, the track, as well, as we tick towards sunset here. 6:30 in Baku, the session should finish, and that's round about sunset time, actually, as Hamilton goes quickest now with a 1:46.1. 300ths of a second clear of Charles Leclerc. Kimi Raikkonen in the Alfa, third fastest at the moment. Raikkonen, one of 6 drivers so far this season to finish in the points in all 3 races. Hamilton, Bottas, Verstappen, Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen.
You can just see the haze of dust as the cars are flicking it up into the air, Crofty.
Start last year cost him a chance of victory, and the Mercedes running close formation once again. This time Valtteri Bottas clear of Lewis Hamilton. If they think they haven't got a straight line speed advantage to Ferrari, you can understand why they would want to practice the toe. But it's very difficult to give both drivers an even chance when it comes to Q3 to both get the benefit of it.
Well, the thing is, Crofty, if Ferrari are actually running a bit more downforce than the other teams around here, they may not be the fastest ones in the straight line for this particular track, but they're going to have more downforce, and this is Lewis Hamilton that's reversing out of a tight situation.
That's down at turn 8, isn't it? It's down by the old
down by the castle
walls.
Yeah. Problem is that if you try and commit to the corner like that, you're going to end up hitting that barrier on the right-hand side. A bit like turn 1 in Monaco. We see lots of cars go straight on there, one of the few places again in Monaco. And I really like this track, Crofty. It's a proper street circuit. One where the drivers really have to focus on their braking zones. And yeah, you've got to be brave in the braking. That's where you can make up a lot of time around this track. And in that respect, very different from Monaco. You arrive so much faster with a lot less downforce, of course, than that circuit. And, you know, tricky in their own ways. And this is a replay of what happens. He's got cars in front of him, up through the gears.
You want to be down into...
Yeah, he thinks about turning in, it locks up and then thinks better of it. Neutral goes into the gearbox there, and you can see on the dash, and then he selects reverse gear, and back he goes.
Toto Wolff watching on from the Mercedes garage. Valtteri Bottas, we were talking about, I think once produced one of the great laps that we've seen here in the previous Grand Prix in Baku, where he started the final lap behind Lance Stroll in the Williams and pipped him on the line by 1/10 of a second, deployed all of his energy recovery system and got a great toe on the straight and to nick that second place off Lance Stroll right at the end.
But it's great, you see the cars moving around, you see lockups, mistakes from the drivers. I mean, they're under pressure. Do is go colliding into the barrier at this point.
Thank you, Anthony Lee Official, who tweets us at #SkyF1. Bottas did leave a mark when he touched the wall during that tight spin, and he sent us a little photo of it. Thank you for that. The speed traps, Valtteri Bottas at the moment maybe using DRS, 319 kilometers an hour. Without DRS, 310 kilometers an hour. Big difference there. Hamilton and Vettel, 306 kilometers an hour. Charles Leclerc, 305 kilometers an hour. If you would like that in miles an hour, I'll do a quick calculation. 190 miles an hour equals about 306 kilometers an hour. Speedily down to Karun.
Yeah, Crofty, down here at the first corner, that inside curve is actually quite interesting because there's different approaches. The two Alpha cars, Kimi Räikkönen and Giovinazzi, seem to be overshooting it. They're not really biting that apex as well as other people. Hamilton and Ricciardo and Verstappen, actually, they're the three cars who lap after lap have just got the car on a white light. Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari, who just came past, just goes in. You can see him chasing the understeer a little bit. The front of the car just sort of patters along, and he's chasing the front end a bit more than perhaps he would like, and maybe Ferrari just need to dial in a bit more front end bites in a row now, and every lap is just a slightly different line. He's not yet got the comfort in that Ferrari to get lap after lap into a rhythm around here. Kevin Magnussen, by the way, in true K-Mag style, hustling it around. And Alex Albon as well, by the way, has looked really good here so far.
As you were saying that, Karun, Charles Leclerc lacking a bit of consistency. He touched the wall coming out of turn 7, so I know not obviously down where you are at the moment, but Anthony, he touched the wall and got away with it. And well, here is Lance Stroll in the racing point. Red flag has come out because I rather think he's hit the barrier a little bit harder, and I'm looking to see where the damage might be. I wonder if it's, yeah, look, on the front wing, left-hand side of the front wing is sat on the tarmac at the moment. That looks like it's down
turn 3.
Is that turn 3 or turn 2? I think that's turn 2. That's where Valtteri went off as well. If Karun's on the inside of the track, he might be able to wander up there. That's quite a big clunk, isn't it? Look at the front left tyre.
Just trying to work out how he's done that.
45-degree angle. Well,
we're going to find out.
I wonder if he's locked up, tried to make the corner,
and then
trying to correct it too late.
He's gone too late. He's aborted too late.
And he's kind of just skidded into it.
Copy that. Are you okay?
Yeah, just got to snap on it.
Well, that is disappointment for Lance Stroll there.
Yeah, it's like we were saying.
It's difficult. You've got that half a second of indecision, by which time you needed to have made your mind up because it's too late.
Exactly like we saw with, yeah, apparently this was the second time that he got that corner wrong. And yeah, so that time gone in a little bit harder, and but yeah, he backed out of it too late. The car was turning into the corner, and like we saw when riding on board with Lewis, he locked up a bit. He tried to turn, but in a way, the good thing for Lewis was the car understeered when he tried to turn in.
Yeah.
But for Lance, the car actually turned in, and then you're kind of in the corner, and then yeah, you're on the brakes and you have to turn right. But yeah,
and
you've got to make that quick decision, Crofty, to know I'm going too fast to make this.
Because by the time you're sliding and you're thinking, no, I'm going to go to the right because I'm going to avoid it, you haven't got the space to do it. And you're going to go right against the barrier.
That's why
you can see.
When I saw the marks on the barrier there on the left-hand side, I thought, how has he done that? Did he spin and he's collected it as he's done a 360? But yeah, it's your natural instinct in the car is to try to make the corner, always.
Of course.
You want to get round, but you'll be kicking yourself after that one. So look, as he turns, the car actually turns in. Look, then he loses the rear, and that was the problem. It wasn't a front lock-up.
Yeah.
He lost the rear of the car.
Just watching it again.
Yeah, and it was that kick of oversteer that then sent him off on the wrong line. So you just got two choices then. You try and turn into the corner more and you hit sort of square on the right-hand side of the car on the barrier, or you try to do what he did and back out of the whole thing. But
that's a new front wing then needed there for a team that's brought upgrades to this race. Some new packages for Baku that they hope will give them a little bit more pace. As the session was red flagged just before it, Charles Leclerc had gone to the top of the timing charts with a 1:44.7. He's hit the wall down at turn 7, but he's got away with it. Lance Stroll has hit the wall at turn 2 and not got away with it in the slightest. Leclerc with a 0.7 of a second advantage over Lewis Hamilton. Sebastian Vettel third fastest. No George Russell, he won't be taking part, and already a red flag. So here comes the truck then. We'll see once again the Racing Point making its way back to the pits, and for Lance Stroll, that is a session ending accident, one would imagine. For everyone else, got to wait for the red flag to go green once again, and no news yet as to when that might be. So Ted Kravitz, down to you.
Well, the car is back, Crofty, in the garage, or outside the garage, and the whole front left is taken off, so that's going to take more or less the whole session to repair. They might, if they're really quick, be able to get him back out for a run at the end, but I'd be surprised. The other problem is they can't get it off this low loader. So since, what should we call it, the embarrassing incident with the truck?
Oh yes, not the bridge of size, but the bridge of wrong size.
With the pickup truck with its own hydraulic lift that clunked into the bridge. I don't know whether as a result of that they're only using low loaders without the hydraulic lifts, but this one doesn't have a method of getting the car off the low loader and onto the pit apron in front of the Racing Point garage. So now it's on its way.
Have they got a ramp or something?
Now it's on its way away from the Racing Point garage, and they're going to have to get a crane to lift it. I don't know what pictures you're on, Crofty. Tell me what you can see.
We can see.
So
there is another crane down there, because that's the crane, Ted, that got George Russell's Williams off the damaged low loader earlier on. So that's why it's going to the other end of the pit lane, because that's where that crane is.
That's right.
Oh, so you couldn't write this, could you? And if you did, someone would tell you that it's complete fiction and not reality.
So they have to. There are. So bemused-looking Racing Point mechanics. In their defence, they'd already been told, the mechanics, to go down to the end of the pit lane where they can collect their car. No one had told, come and collect it from all the way down there. And eventually they figured it out, and that's where they're running. And we've got a couple of pit marshals here who are explaining it to themselves. And I think everybody on the Racing Point pit wall knew what was going on. I think the mechanics who were ready to collect it at the end of the pit lane knew what was going on, but no one had told the driver of the low loader, who had stopped outside of the garage, unloaded poor Lance Stroll and said, here you go, lads, here's your car.
Thank you very much, Ted. While all that was happening, we just saw a replay of Charles Leclerc coming back into the pits. And I wonder, was that after he'd hit the wall and he'd taken a bit of concrete and maybe got stuck in the wheels?
A bit of concrete for a journey around the rest of the track from turn 7 onwards. But I'll be amazed if he hasn't done some kind of damage to that left rear of the Ferrari.
Maybe that's where we need to send Ted now, just to see what they're working on.
It looks quite calm in the garage. He might have got away with it, but that was a hard old hit.
Yeah, it was.
And it reminds me of another street track circuit, Singapore, where we see in one of the final sector, I think it's turn 23 by memory, where the drivers often scrape along the wall there and get away with it. So, yeah, he might be lucky, but yeah, all looks calm down at the pits for now.
Session will restart in 1 minute's time.
It's all go, 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 isn't it? When the drivers are actually out on the track around this around this place, it's
Well, put it this way: Baku is not exactly giving us much disappointment today. If we want drama,
when we see cars running around, yeah.
But we wouldn't mind seeing a few more cars running around. However, as we discussed this morning, the less data they gather today, the more interesting it might be for the rest of the weekend.
You're rubbing your hands together, aren't you?
Oh, it's brilliant. No, we kind of touched on this morning. I would like to see something replace one of the practice sessions on the Friday, something a bit more meaningful, like a first part of qualifying, for instance, or qualifying on a Friday and then, you know, park that grid for Sunday, and then we'll put a sprint race in between on the Saturday. Just something to create a few more proper headlines, a bit more track action that the fans can enjoy. I don't know why we still need the 3 practice sessions of the length that we have, given that, and we only went to 1.5 hours for 2 sessions on a Friday because there was no testing during the course of the season, which the teams then clawed back a little bit. We've got three in-season tests these days. So it was at a time where there was no testing, and that's why they had extra practice sessions.
I think it's fair enough for a circuit, say like Barcelona, that everyone knows like the back of their hand. But when you come to a track like this, the drivers, I mean, from my side, I would want a lot of practice around a circuit like this. You've seen how hard it is for the drivers out there. And I know it's not supposed to be easy, but you know, you can't just screw a driver in and send them and have your fastest lap straight away. It's nice to have a bit of practice, but a circuit like Barcelona that you know so well, I don't really see the point in going there and pounding round and round and round before race day.
We'll be back in Barcelona in a couple of weeks' time. Martin Brundle will be with us, of course. He is not with us this weekend. He's racing at the Nürburgring, I think, isn't he? This weekend.
Oh, is this his big race?
I think it might be his big race this weekend. Alex Pine says, has Martin Brundle been banned from the country of Azerbaijan? No, he hasn't. But he's going racing this weekend.
Oh, the Racing Point's making its way back down the pit lane, being pushed on its.
So they obviously think they might be able to get that car back out again because they're in a keen dash to get it down there. Birthday boy Danny Kvyat not going out just yet, hasn't set the time just yet. And we can watch Sebastian Vettel, who is out on track, as is his teammate, just in case something goes wrong.
Yeah,
a little bit later on.
1 hour, 2 minutes to go. So you've got to be getting your tyre evaluation done at some point. And they just thought, right, if there's any more yellow or red flags, we've got to at least know the difference between 2 of our tyre compounds.
And before this lap starts to get really, really fast, Ted, down to you.
It's a power steering failure for Kvyat. That's why he's not done any laps.
Yes, I knew we were going to be finding that out, but I think the Racing Point incident rather got in the way of that. Cheers, Ted. Bottas out on the soft tyres now as well. We've just seen him come out of his garage right opposite our commentary box, which has a magnificent view of the pit.
Back straight in Shanghai was long, but this is slightly longer than that one.
So from turn 16 to turn 1, drivers on the power for 24 seconds. It's the longest full throttle blast on the calendar, and while Sebastian Vettel makes his way, hopefully, fingers crossed, through turn 2 without a problem. And over to you.
Yeah, so out of turn 2, and this is your second of your 2 DRS zones on this track, Crofty, as you head down towards turn 3. This is where we saw the drain cover incident with in FP1, and the Vettel goes straight on. You're not supposed to go that way around turn 3.
Tyres not warmed up sufficiently, not getting the grip he would have wanted.
Pushing harder, expecting too much grip from the softer compound tyre, and yeah, put it all together. Driver lacking experience, just like I was saying, well, lacking the time behind the wheel around this track, and yeah, it all adds up, and look at that.
We were discussing this in the office yesterday. Just because they got the soft tyres here doesn't mean they are soft enough for what the drivers need and the grip that they need. And do they, when it comes to qualifying, will they be needing 2 warm-up laps around here to bring them into that temperature window?
I think by the time you get to qualifying, Crofty, you would have had enough goes on new tyres to brake at the right point for that speed.
At this rate, we won't.
Exactly.
Karun, down to you.
Down at turn 2, this is Robert Kubica coming past me. I tell you what, they are really struggling with tyre warm-up here on the outlap. Literally nobody managed to get to this apex. They were having to turn the wheels so gingerly, and the car was just sliding around the rear end. Pierre Gasly, so that's Max Verstappen, sorry, instead of mediums, he's now up to temperature. But Lewis Hamilton turned in, and the car just didn't bite. It was just sliding around. Crofty, we talked about this, didn't we? The warm-up issues are going to be a problem now. That was Bottas.
Yes.
It's such a great view because you're looking straight into the cockpit. But now that he's got temperature, he's got, you know, he's got who does seem to have better traction than anybody else. Look at a slow lap here. Look at how slowly he's having to go on the outlap on the cold tyres. It's going to be a real issue, I think, in the Grand Prix for these guys in these first sector of the lap.
Really interesting. Thank you.
You can see how tentatively it approaches that. I think it's on a slower lap now. Hamilton comes past. Can they beat Leclerc? No. P3 for Lewis, 1:44.4, so just a tenth slower than his teammate.
So Leclerc, 1:43.5. They're the same tyre compounds that we had in China. I think because of the speeds that we get here down that straight, maybe the teams would like them to be the softest 3 tyres in the range.
Shanghai, which we know is a tyre killer. We kept saying it 2 weeks ago. It really destroys the tyres, and you need therefore to run a slightly harder compound for them to survive the race. But I'm surprised to see that, and it's going to be a big challenge for the teams to switch these tyres on, particularly as the race starts.
Will then pull to one side because he's on a slower lap than Leclerc is. But what Vettel's doing very nicely is giving him a tow all the way down that straight. And Ferrari can do that because they just happen to be in the right place at the right time. That was right place at the right time. Now they've both got the DRS open actually at this point. And are we going to see Vettel trying to re-challenge going down into turn 1 because he's back in the slipstream? Well, what Leclerc did there was he got his lap time anyway. Smart. Yeah, he didn't set a personal best for that final sector. He moved aside because his work had been done on the soft tyres in terms of the quali lap simulation. What he didn't want to do was compromise his teammate and the start of his next flying lap. Verstappen is on it here, as you can see, but on the medium tyre for Max Verstappen, so a little bit out of sync with everything else that's going on the track at the moment. Or is that Red Bull thinking, we just want to see what we're like on the medium, maybe go for a medium tyre run in Q2. We might want to start the race on these tyres. I don't know. Christian Horner might know a bit more. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Crofty.
A bit out of sync then. Verstappen on the medium tyre. Why would that be, Christian?
We're just having a look at a few things setup-wise. So he'll be coming in this lap and then going on to the other tyre. So nothing too much to read into it, Crofty.
All right, OK. Well, we'll wait until we see him on the mediums in Q2 maybe then. What about tyre warm-up? Karim was saying that lots of drivers seem to be struggling with that. Is that something that Pierre found on his flying lap?
Yeah, it's an issue here, and the Ferrari seem to be able to generate here, particularly Leclerc. Looks like he's just taking a bit more risk than others at the moment, but yeah, it was something that was a factor last year here as well, was getting the tyre switched on.
Absolutely. And in terms of what you've lost in terms of track time so far, we lost pretty much the whole session for you. We've lost another 15 or so minutes this afternoon. What's being left out here in terms of your run plans? Quite significant runs or not?
Not really. I mean, you're still going to get short runs and long runs in. It's just the amount of time to deck with the car, really, to be honest with you. So it's a setup time, but they'll get plenty of data from this running, so it'll be then trawling through that overnight and using it for tomorrow's session. But everybody's in the same boat, so it's no major plus or minus, you know, all the way around.
Brilliant. Thanks, Christian. We'll speak to you a little bit later, if we can, on that one. Looks like Danny Kvyat might be about to go out soon. Let's certainly hope so. Not exactly having the birthday on track that he would have imagined. His dad's here this year as well in Baku. Conversation.
Great place for a chat, Crofty. Yes, no escaping you, is there?
I've been in that lift for 4 hours waiting for someone to talk to, and they both came in. I said, oh, you must be Mr. Kvyat, you must be Danny's dad.
Dan's side.
I'm sure he looked as he went past.
See, that's where I want to stand.
Do you?
I said,
well, go on then, don't let me stop you.
I can't with you, trapped in here, like the poor old Kvyat.
Oh. It's like the lift in the hotel. Back to Charles Leclerc then.
Who's very good around this track, Crofty, isn't he? Dominated F2 back in the day and finished P6 last year. Now, but they're carrying on, getting these purple sectors and fastest laps like Vettel did just 1 lap ago.
That's because Christian Horner's colourful language a few moments ago. 1:42.8 for Charles Leclerc, 3/10 up on Sebastian Vettel. And normally, and you've kind of touched on this with Shanghai, we talk about tyre degradation. We talk about tyres just losing their life as the stint goes on and on and on, and drivers struggling at the end of it. And if the tyres are a little bit too hard in terms of their compound choice here, what do we get? Do we get the opposite end of that? And that's drivers struggling with warm-up at the start of a stint and finding...
Middle sector. So 11 and 12 where we're losing the time. Minimum corner speed.
And finding they're slipping around all over the place.
Yeah, sorry, we'll come back to that, Crofty. Interesting on that one, where it's 11 and 12 is where he's losing time. We're actually tenths down after that middle sector here.
big difference in the exit speed on turn 16.
But let's have a look now. Can he make up some time in this final sector? I know it's kind of turned on its head from what we've been saying all season so far, but how is that straight line speed in Mercedes now compared to the Ferrari? Because we believe they're running slightly less downforce perhaps than the Ferrari. No, he's maintained that time difference. So usually the Ferrari would have extended that gap on the straight. They've been faster all season so far in a straight line, but not here so far. So they're maintaining. So they've got the same. They're matching Ferrari on the straights, but our Ferrari, Shanghai doesn't. It rewards more downforce. You can get away with running a car with more drag to get more downforce. And I believe that Ferrari were probably at the top end of their medium downforce package they had for Shanghai. But still, they were still, what, 6 or 7 tenths? If you added up all of the straight lines together in Shanghai, an advantage over Mercedes. But Mercedes was so much faster around the corners there because you need the downforce around that track, and that will have that inherent straight line speed advantage from their power unit. It allows them to run slightly more downforce around this type of track.
So it's Ferrari's weekend then?
I think they're probably going to look stronger here than they were in Shanghai.
I think
it's my theory. I might be completely wrong, but it's just based on what we saw in Bahrain and what we can see from visually from their wing compared to other cars so far.
I like your theory.
And that Mercedes are matching them for the first time this season. They're matching them in a straight line. So yeah, I think therefore Ferrari must be running more downforce around the corners. I'd love to see the GPS trace that they all get.
For once in my life, I'm saying this with a straight face. I think I like your theory. I like it a lot, and I'm keen to see how it pans out.
And yes, I like your theory as well. It's great, isn't it? We're agreeing on something. I like your theory about the overcut working around this track as well,
which it did very, very well last year, of course, for Red Bull. And that's why Max Verstappen found himself at the moment. But my information that I've been told in my ears is that he could well be coming in. And is he pulling into the pit lane? Yes, he is. Good job too, because waiting for him in the garage is Johnny Herbert. Down to you, Johnny. You've got about 15 seconds before Lando arrives.
Well, great, Crofty. It's amazing seeing all these guys sort of get on all the little cooling machines that they're going to throw onto this car when he comes in. So he comes into his pit stop there, stops, and straight away the fans go onto the front brake ducts. Same thing on the back end. They get the little coasters that will sort of guide the car into the pits itself. I think what I find very interesting is once he stops, on the left radiators are, and what you've got in there is of course the intercooler and then the radiator for the engine itself. So it's already gone on, and there are 2 switches in there, because as well as those radiators there are a lot of electronics that need to be at the back. There it goes there. You can see it actually there on the back of the car. There's a little sort of air valve thing that goes onto the bodywork. That blows directly onto the turbo to cool that turbo down at the same time. And what you've got going on here as well, this is that little pack I was talking about. Now that's just gone on as well. That's cooling down the radiators at the same time. So there is sort of a certain time that they put everything on together. There we go, starting it up. The little generator's running. There you go, and you can see the sort of the cooling of the dry ice sort of coming out into the radiators. It's amazing how all this all goes together, keeping everything as cool as they can. It's very noisy down here, guys, but there seems to be a lot of sort of confidence as well. The plan, by the way, they've sort of done a change from obviously the issues that we had this morning. There are the important tests that they need to do. They'll be sort of really put into play, but of course it's going to be those long runs. And they're going to be longer because Lando needs just a few more laps to get underneath the car here to get.
Just how hot is it down there?
I'm very fortunate because all the air is being blown into the back. So those people standing at the back, they're going to be very suffering.
I'm
actually okay here.
Oh, that's fair enough then. Right place, right time, Herbert. That's what they call it.
You got it.
Yeah, good man.
I wondered why you're standing at the front like that.
Johnny always stands at the front.
Up always thinking is that Johnny Herbert.
Down there for driving, that's what he says. Oh, he's the right man for any situation, is our Johnny Herbert. Love him. So that's what's going on in the McLaren garage then. We just saw Alex Albon go 5th fastest. You'd have seen that if we had the split screen up. He got a wonderful tow, didn't he, off Giovinazzi.
Did you see what happened in the tow, though, while you were chatting to Johnny? So he got into the slipstream. It went up to I think he lost 5 kilometres an hour when he pulled out from the toe. So he still had DRS on, caught him up. I think it went from...
Oh, is this Max Verstappen? Pierre Gasly. Yes, the number 10, I can see it now. And he's gone on that turn 3. Yes, turn 3. Now, he's going to have to do the Austin Powers 29-point turn. Yes. Engage. And is Karun down there? Karun, are you there?
I am. He's doing a very gentle turn. I don't think he wants to damage the tyres. He's doing a very gentle turn around. Managed to get it done. But I can see him here. In fact, there's the big rubber mark. I'll get the camera to just show. You can see the big lockup, guys. That's where, you know, he was a bit deep on the brake. As he came into view, I thought, ooh, you're a bit deep. And then sure enough, we could smell and see the tire smoke as they went by. Look at the shower of sparks there from Daniel Ricciardo. One thing I've been watching out for, guys, is just as they turn into the corner on entry there, the left-hander turn 3, there's a bit of dust kicking up. Still, I think that the dust from the track, they're kicking up some dust, and I think that's catching some car, and I think that's having a bit of... I'm bang on the 100-meter mark, so I'll be able to see where everybody brakes here.
You are a braking reference, and Daniel Ricciardo might need one of those as he's gone on as well a little further on.
Down at
turn
turn 15.
Yeah, down at turn 15. Another one finding it tricky. Christian Horner's listening in on the Red Bull pit wall. We were talking tyre warm-up issues. We ought to talk dusty track as well, Christian, because it's not easy out there.
No, it's pretty tricky out there. I mean, it's dusty, it's slippy, it's quite cool as well. So that's why you're getting all these issues. So. Yeah, exciting for the drivers.
Yeah, and obviously you don't want to see any damage, and you don't really want to see your drivers do that. But is there a method in the madness to say best to get these out of the way now, because you can't afford to do it tomorrow or on Sunday in the race?
Well, they're all, you know, fishing around, looking for where their braking references are, where the grip levels are, feeling the curves, and obviously the more laps they do, the better. Unfortunately, the laps they missed this morning, I think, as Karun identified earlier, the circuit's still in a pretty dirty state, so the drivers are trying to get more out of it than it's probably capable of at the moment.
Absolutely. Thanks, Christian. Just seeing Daniel Ricciardo there, having to wait a long time to get very, very hot.
Yeah, they were on fire, actually, as he pulled away, you know, from the heat soak like Johnny was talking about. That's why they put the fans on the cars as soon as they come into the garage, but you haven't got that luxury when you're stricken out on circuit. And yeah, that was Today, you can see there just on the left hand side as he gets going again. Yeah,
it is the land of fire, but not wanting fire in his brakes, Daniel Ricciardo. So Charles Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel separated by 3/10 from Hamilton and Bottas. Ferrari 1-2, Mercedes 3-4. Really is turning into a fascinating session as the sunlight turns to shade here in Baku, round about, what, 6 minutes to 6 o'clock in the evening here on this Friday evening. Thank you to Matthias, who says, does good tyre durability mean we're going to have a boring one-stop race this weekend? Look, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we...
moment.
Absolutely. That
one stop or not.
That didn't look as bad on board as it looked off board. Whoa!
It's the other shot when he's coming towards this one here.
Yeah. Don't want to be doing that too often. The thing about this racetrack, and the thing about Baku, all it takes is one early accident stroke.
The new tyre will always give you more grip around this track. Doing a pit stop will, obviously you'll have one lap where you suffer with the warm-up, and that's why they'll try and minimise their pit stops. But in a safety car, virtual safety car situation, a fresh tyre is still going to be faster once it gets up to temperature. And you can overtake around this track. So yeah, this track is we're going to see some safety cars, of course we are. And yeah, this race, I'm sure, will be anything but boring.
12 laps of the safety car in 2017, including a red flag, of course, as well. Last year, 13 laps behind the safety car. Bernd Maylander should lead this race at some stage this weekend. Ted, down to you.
Let me bring you down to the Ferrari garage, everybody, to show you the new bits. So a really powerful bit is the new diffuser on this new Ferrari floor. But just an easy way of telling the new Ferrari floor are these three flick-ups just ahead of the rear wheel. Can you see them? on there, Crofty?
Yes, we can.
And they're both running them. Both Vettel and Leclerc are running the new floor, whereas I think they intended to back-to-back them in free practice 1, but of course they didn't get to do that. So they are running the new floor. So there's a new diffuser, a new floor, and then a new bargeboard area as well. So we can just have a look at that. If you have a look at the Ferrari logo, and then a little bit further up, you can see there's a logo that's OIIR or something like that.
Yes.
So you can see just below that are the new bargeboards. So that's what's new about this package as well. So I think, as we said in FP1, this package was intended for Barcelona. They have fast-tracked some of the parts there, and while it's really going to be shown to its best effect in Barcelona, Vettel was confirming that they will see the benefits here as well. So if it works here, it'll work even better on the Ferrari in Spain in a couple of weeks' time, and that can only bode well for them. But just to put this into context, remember the last time Ferrari tried to debut a new floor last year?
Singapore.
Yeah, and how did that go for them?
Not exactly as well as the computer predicted.
Exactly. So that's what I'm interested in this big Ferrari upgrade to see. Is to whether it actually works, because last time they tried it didn't work, and it was a correlation issue. This time it looks like it is working so far.
Yes, what looks good on computer and in the wind tunnel isn't always the most effective on the
For him, how's it going to be when he crosses the line?
Well, he crosses the line 7th fastest and goes quicker than Alex Albon as well by about 1/100th of a second. Don't forget, and I'll keep saying this, Albon got a toe, so benefited from that toe as well.
And obviously the track evolution all the time. We said that he's out of sync, but still, it shows, Albon is doing...
For the next half an hour or so, they'll get as many laps in as they possibly can to work out how long these tyres are going to last come the race day on Sunday.
Into the pits this lap.
Practice starts. So kind of drive through the pits and do another practice start, or is he going to go into the garage? There's no one out in the pit lane.
There's no one out in the pit,
so one would imagine
fast he goes.
It's practice start time. And they pull off around the corner to the end of the pit lane and hope that no one else is coming out of turn 1 when they get going once again, because the last thing he will want to do is get stuck behind someone.
Sign as well, apart from just the lap times, that when the race run they won't be running DRS obviously.
Yeah.
And that really changes on the track. We've said it's all about the braking. It really changes your approach into the corner. When you've got DRS open around here, you gain 1/10 of a second in just one straight. That's what Grosjean being up to down at turn 2.
See, that's what Lance Stroll was trying to do.
Yeah.
But it just went on a bit too long for him to change his mind.
I've got some mud grading coming in the rears.
Understood.
But you see, Crofty, in contrast to the Stroll, although it looks similar at first, Grosjean locks the front end.
Yeah.
Is that the rear started to come round and then got more yaw into the car, and that was harder to then therefore carry straight on with.
And being hurt by the new thinner gauge tyres of their positions. Gauge tyres affecting things this year, as we see Lando Norris. Answer that in a minute. It's going down to Karun.
Yeah, he's right here, guys, in front of me, just locked up the rear end as he was coming into this braking zone. This is an amazing spot. I have to thank Paul Di Resta for the recommendation, but we're basically looking into the driver's cockpit here. I mean, they're right there along the wall. There's no inside curb here, and they come up. I mean, this is sort of 6-inch, and the marshals here, in fact, were saying that they help to do a bit of work in between the sessions. But yeah, really good spot, and just try and watch Giovinazzi there. You can make out the guys like Giovinazzi who aren't yet fully hooked up don't attack the entry. That was Alex Albon. He is a young driver. I know you guys were just talking about him. He's a young driver who's been massively impressive for me down here. Has a lot of confidence, just turns the wheel in and really, really attacks the entry. Here is Charles Leclerc. Speaking of drivers not short of confidence, that tentativeness that I saw back in turn 1, as the session's gone on, we're now an hour into it, has gone away. He's now looking much more in the groove here.
Brilliant, thanks Karun. Great vantage point from the side of the track. Just go back to these thinner gauge tyres.
Was introduced. Was it Silverstone? That was one of the tracks.
Barcelona
and
was
Barcelona,
another.
yeah. So how were they on those circuits? Did they feel like that was a disadvantage to them? I haven't, to be honest, done the research on that because it's just come up over the last day or so. But I don't know. I mean, it's a complex thing to try and understand where your car is, where its strengths and weaknesses are. I think it's too easy to blame one change, but that change is the same for everyone.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you don't see winners and losers by that bigger margin, really. We didn't last year when it came along.
If they hadn't done this with the resurface, it was the resurfacing makes.
Well, yeah, if you qualify quite well and then your race goes sour, then you're trying to figure out why that is. Why is your car hurting tyres more than anyone else? The drivers are more than adapted now with these Pirelli tyres to learn how to monitor that through the race.
Yeah.
I can't believe just a couple of laps you'd be nowhere and the tyres would be falling apart and they'd be scratching their heads. But it's not quite that extreme for Haas, but it's a similar kind of thing.
So let's just look at the last lap times for Leclerc, Vettel and Hamilton. All in the 1:48s. But a 1:48.2 for Leclerc, a 1:48.6 for Vettel, and a 1:48.2 for Hamilton. Vettel's on the medium tyre, which explains the difference. Not a huge amount of difference in terms of tenths of a second. You know, 4 of them on that. That looks like Alex Albon. Is that yellow? Is that a yellow ticket? No, it could be Danny Kvyat.
No, it's Danny Kvyat. He went personal best in the first sector. I was just going to say, Crofty, he's still going faster. Just going too fast.
Yeah, another red flag. I just thought, I looked for the yellow T-cam and the sun was glinting down on it and giving me a yellow impression.
Sorry guys, suspension has gone.
Turn 7.
And just as Karun said, he was starting to get into the groove and really attack the circuit. The circuit has now gone and bitten him hard.
Flag the marshals over
he
to
wants a fire extinguisher, doesn't he? On those brakes, which are smouldering away. Oh dear, dear, dear. That is not what Toro Rosso or Danny Kvyat needed at this stage of the afternoon. It's a big rebuild. The cars are going to get rebuilt overnight, but he's hit that very hard. And they've
excellent turn 7 would be
hard enough actually, and that they've deployed the medical car as well.
Rear on the mid-corner on throttle. Too keen getting on the power. Yeah, it was that lock-up going into the corner, sent him into the corner too quickly. He's gone onto the dust, put his foot down on the dust, and the rear's come round. So easily done around this track. But yeah, he went personal best. He was on a good lap around that first sector, and I was just about to say, just after you were going to stop talking there, I was going to say, look at Kvyat, the track's still getting better. He's on his personal best, and there's sort of the Toro Rosso just in that angle. But
2 previous starts here in Baku for Danny Kvyat. He has never got beyond lap 9. Retired in both races. Look at the dust and the winds down there swirling around. I mean, we're in a commentary box that, unlike last year, is not moving around in the wind, but that just shows you how windy it is down there. That's a really... So look at the kind of plastic covering to stop people getting a free view of the action, and the way that's blowing around in the wind down there. It is a bit of a wind tunnel at that part of the track, but either way, is it quite gusty in the pit lane, Ted Kravitz?
Not really, but then we are sheltered by this very impressive temporary building. I'm trying to see if I can see any flags around, but then that's so far, such a long circuit, Crofty. It's so far to that part of the old town, or just approaching the old town, that it might be different there anyway, as everyone piles back into the pit lane. Sergio Perez is coming here, and it's just looking onto the Toro Rosso pit wall, and I can see that no visible anger from Franz Tost there. Is he just taking a refreshing drink?
Yeah,
yes,
he is.
I mean, he will be frustrated. The shame is, of course, that Danny Kvyat was recovering from problems not of his own making with the power steering from earlier on in this session. So was as you were saying, just getting back into the swing of things. You might say, maybe if he hadn't been given a big up by somebody in a lift earlier on the day, he might not have had such confidence to throw the car around.
Oh, it's all my fault.
I think he was traumatised. That's it, Ted. Traumatised by the lift episode.
By a chance encounter with someone in a lift. when he was trying to have a chat with his dad.
He was trying to concentrate on the braking zone for turn 7, but all he could think about was Crofty in the lift.
I said, you know, he looks so much like Simon Lazenby, and that was the end of that.
Oh, no, you
didn't need to remind him at all.
But while you're down here, actually, you remembered Lance Stroll earlier on in the session.
Actually, is he going to come out again?
I think they might make him out, you know. I really think they might make it out. We do have a camera down here, so we'll offer you a delicately wide shot of Lance Stroll's car. We don't want to get too far in because they are changing some sensitive bits. But as you can see,
he's got 20 minutes.
I think, do you know what? They are trying to make it towards the end of the session, and I think they're good guys and girls down here. I think they might just make it out, you know.
Yeah,
just keeping a...
You've been told to move now.
Well, we're keeping, as I said, we like to keep... The mechanics can't tell when we've got a wide shot on.
Yes.
But we do keep wide shots not to get too involved in sensitive stuff. So
not so up close and personal.
Not so up
Kravitz,
close. We weren't up close and personal. We were on a nice wide shot of the front of Stroll's car. But yeah, he's just watching the session and the telemetry from his teammate Sergio Perez on the centre console. But I think they might make it out, you know. I think it's looking not so bad.
Let us hope so. Thank you very much, Ted Kravitz. Another red flag then, and this has interrupted the race runs for the teams, which is, well, once again, a problem they could well have done without this afternoon. But for Ferrari, looking good on the qualifying sims at least. The men are back with the low loader, which hopefully can get underneath the bridge this time. And this is the view. Actually, what I think they're lifting Danny Kvyat's car away from the track, and that won't be returned to the pits today. Daniel Ricciardo, I've just seen his car in the pits. I don't think he's coming out for the rest of this session, Daniel Ricciardo, because he's used up his allocation of tyres. That's the message from Renault on that one. We know, Ted, that he locked up quite badly on his soft tyres.
Two lockups.
But he's had another lockup as well.
Yeah, it's trashed both. Oh, as Nico Hülkenberg undertakes the Red Bull in the pits, slightly naughty when a Williams was coming out as well. No, he's two lockups on both sets of tyres, and that's it.
Yeah.
So that is not a good start to the weekend for Daniel Ricciardo. Didn't have the running in FP1. No one did. No one did. And two flat spots. So you've got to look at, you know, what's going on with the braking of that Renault to cause Ricciardo, who's didn't come down in the last shower, you know, he's been around, he knows how to drive, to lock up and trash both those sets of tyres so that he has to end the session early.
Right, and while you say that, Sebastian Vettel comes straight out of the pits and locks up as well on the medium compound tyre. And I just noticed, riding on board as well as we were with the Ferrari, how the sunlight is not at a great angle for the drivers here, and it's not bright all the time or dark all the time. You're going in and out of shade, which obviously affect. I'll tell you what we haven't mentioned today, and we ought to bring people up to date with, because it has been confirmed now. There will be at least one grid penalty for this weekend. That's Antonio Giovinazzi. New control electronics. He takes a 10.
Yeah, that lockup that Vettel suffered with immediately out of the pits, Crofty. We've lost 4 degrees of track temp from the beginning of this session to now. And yeah, just goes to show the loaded wheel locked up as well. So the outside front as he turned in, and that's always a sign that you're lacking just pure warm-up from the tyre. It looks okay now as he heads back towards that same corner. But yeah, really surprised to see Vettel caught out immediately. And yeah, you have to say that if we do have a situation, you know, safety cars and stuff like that in the race, especially towards the end of the race, you can really see why Vettel suffered that huge lockup when he went for position at the end of the race last year.
Went for glory, and it looked a bit gory, quite frankly.
But it's much harder. It's easy to criticise, but it's much harder than it looks from the outside.
Yeah.
These cars are hard to drive at the best of times. There's been another yellow out there in sector 1.
So I wonder if that's round about turn 3 once again.
Report a slippery track, turn 7, turn 8, where you were.
That is where they've tidied up the mess that Danny Kvyat created. Valtteri Bottas down at turn 3 has had a bit of an excursion, possibly into the runoff area down there, and that would have been him straight out of the pits as well. And yeah, going on at turn 3.
And just looking at the timing page, Crofty, there's not one green sector from anyone at this point. No one's done a personal best.
No, which, to be honest, they're on, they're on the race simulations.
But Kvyat had done a personal best just before he crashed. So it's, you know, it's another sign that the tyre temp is they're really struggling to generate that, especially on the medium compound that most of them are on at the moment.
And to add to their problems, of course, the rear tyres are 20 degrees cooler this year than they were last year as they sit snugly in their blankets.
Yeah, the blankets come down from 100 degrees to 80 maximum now.
All of which is not a criticism in any way, shape or form. It's called a challenge. And I like the challenge that this circuit is throwing up and these conditions are throwing up.
See the barrier in the exit of turn 1. It's been it's like feathered up where they
someone's clipped it.
Yeah, someone's just brushed it. I've missed that.
Well, they get very close. Right up there as well. All the engines will be turned down slightly on a Friday just to aid engine life. Because as well as power and performance, they need reliability as well. And all season, you've seen out
well,
the window
Verstappen
there.
just came out on the soft tyre, Crofty. So yeah, they were on the medium tyre earlier on when everyone else was on the soft. So they're a bit inverted in that respect. So yeah, let's see what Max can do. And his long run on the soft is just, well, 12 minutes remaining.
Kimi's behind Kubica here, and obviously the Alpha has a faster closing speed, so past he goes, and then past goes Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari as well. This could be a nice drag race.
Spending more.
F1. Raikkonen crosses the line, and that drag race is going to continue on for a little bit longer as well.
Kimi went for the DRS as well, and
just to keep ahead.
Just to keep ahead, yeah, and that's why he's about.
Behind and up through. So 10 minutes to go of this session. And we have Charles Leclerc still on the soft tyre. Vettel and hundreds, and I wonder if we're now starting to see Vettel and Hamilton, meanwhile in the 147s, just to let you know.
You can only really compare, you know, like for like.
What's changed. I had someone tweet me at Ask Crofty, say, stop referring to the yellow stripe as the medium, it's the soft. Like, no, it's changed a bit. And I thought, well, I might want to make that a bit clear next time out, just in case others were a bit confused as well. We all get confused. See, look, Leclerc has put in a 151.1. and Vettel a 153.5 on that last lap. So back to what we were saying about stuck behind Kimi Raikkonen, I think Vettel and Leclerc have got themselves into a situation they don't want to be in here, because they're not able to run the lap times that they would like to, because they're stuck behind the Alpha, which ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, they've got faster race pace, of course, than the Alfa Romeo, but it's not making their life easy. And poor old Stroll still sits it out.
Yeah, Lance is on the naughty chair at the back of the garage. Dad's just walked out a bit to go and have a chat back in the paddock, and he's keen, is Lance, to get out there, but time is ebbing away now.
Ferrari mechanics rushing out, Crofty, with a set of medium tyres as the Alpha of Giovinazzi goes straight on.
Down.
Can he find reverse?
Turn 2. Where's he gone on there? Down at turn 15, I think. We've got a yellow flag down. Out on his own, nice bit of clear track, has been banging in on the soft compound tyres, some kind of mid to high 147s, and is now coming into the pit. So Ted Kravitz, down to you.
So Bottas boxes. Should we have a look at this serrated rear wing, Crofty? Oh, no, he's gone. Well, luckily,
did you get a look at it, Ted?
It's so quick. Luckily, they're trying out early on. Luckily, we have a little shot to show you about this serrated rear wing.
What, here's one I prepared earlier?
Here is one we prepared earlier. Should we take a look at it? It's actually developing an idea that they had a few seasons ago, 2016, when they played around with this. And it's a little serrated section, and it does three things. First of all, it makes the rear wing, effectively makes the rear wing work harder, which is good, producing more downforce. Secondly, it maximizes the...
It really feels like the car is unloading under braking.
Feels like the car's unloading under braking.
That's right, on the edge. Nico Hulkenberg.
Effect. It makes the DRS work better, and crucially, it reattaches the airflow. It helps the airflow reattach quicker. There you go, got there in the end. After the DRS flap recloses, which is especially beneficial around this Baku circuit. So there you go. I hope you saw them, Crofty, the little serrated edges.
I don't think we're going to be staring at it for long.
Here we go. On board with
he's had to lift off around that corner in the slipstream.
Because he lost downforce?
But look at, yeah, exactly. But look at this. So that's without DRS at that point. Now he's able to use it. But yeah, you could really see the effect of the toe as he got to the back of the Renault.
Can't you just? 327 kilometers an hour, Valtteri Bottas, as he passed the finish line.
The toe, of course, with the DRS open as well.
Hamilton just put a 146.6 behind Bottas, so he might have got a bit of a double toe in that one. Now, in the middle of the lap, someone might have had another problem. That's Hülkenberg. As the two Mercedes get past him, and what's the betting? He locks up a little bit. No, someone's
there's that bit that was
car.
That is the bit that was on the back end of the car, wobbling around.
Yeah. Right. So it was a hard object that was held on by a cable and flapping around a bit. This is Romain Grosjean.
Turn 8.
Turn 8, and that's the problem I was referring to. He's had a bit of a problem in the middle of the lap.
So we've lost another degree on track temp as well, down to 27 now. As the pit lane is now in the shade.
On the face of it, I'm making massive assumptions here because it's been such an interrupted session. Ferrari have very good pace over Mercedes over the single lap, but they are looking, and maybe Mercedes have a slight edge on race pace.
Who hit the wall, got away with it, many others didn't, and it's a bit of a gamble who would take that risk on the early laps of this session on the new tyres with the lower fuel.
Lance Stroll's not getting out, by the way.
It's very rough on the downshifts.
Is that
okay? Stand by.
Verstappen having problems with downshifts again. It's been an issue this season, where he's not felt the car as responsive as he likes it. He's got to slow down there. I think that's Romain Grosjean. Oh no, Romain Grosjean, no, a bit earlier. That's actually
Pierre
Gasly.
Yeah.
Grosjean went off at turn 3. I'm seeing, right, are we at turn 3 here? No, Grosjean went off a bit earlier. We actually haven't seen that again. He went off twice in a matter of 2 laps. So what happened to Pierre Gasly? We've already seen leave the track a little bit earlier. Another big lock-up. Yeah, look, that is Romain Grosjean, who was there already.
You were right. Yeah. A few seconds before, you were right.
Grosjean was there already. By the time Max came on the scene, Grosjean had disappeared.
Old news, Crofty. Oh, look at that one reversing while one comes in.
And Grosjean's not doing anything illegal. You can reverse back onto the track, but blimey, you have to take care when that happens.
But the more we watch this, Crofty, these tyres live who cannot make mistakes by the end of the race, tyre temp is going to be a huge, huge issue with 5-10 laps remaining in the race.
And if we get a safety car with about 15 laps to go, to cool the tyres down even more, what do you think they'll dive in for a free?
No, from his teammate, from coming out, he's on the same spec of tyre.
7 to turn around again.
Yeah, and drivers going off the track, left, right, centre. It's just... what we're witnessing here is just a pure lack of grip from these cars, lack of warm-up.
Kevin Magnussen going wheel to wheel. Lewis Hamilton and actually touching him. And actually touching Hamilton, his front wheel. That. Well, I want to see that again. Could Hamilton have given him any more room? Probably not, because there was a wall on the other side.
I'll rephrase it. I'd like to think that he didn't see him.
But
I'm unsure.
That's Kevin Magnussen getting weighed at the end there.
We need to see what happened earlier on in that lap. I'm going to nip down to the Sky Pad after this, and I don't know if they're... Yeah,
well,
we'll try and get that in. If we've got any more footage of that, we'll obviously try and get that in. But
you nip down, but we're both going to do a review on the Sky Pad in a little while. So we've got Sky Race Control up here in the commentary box, and the ability to have a look at a few shots that aren't being shown on the world feed at the moment. So where was it at? Down the main straight?
That was coming out of turn 12,
so coming
on
out
the way
of turn
in
12.
towards turn 13.
Here we go. We can see it on the world feed now. as we're right on board with Lewis Hamilton. So he pulls to the inside of Kevin Magnussen. Magnussen moves right and then takes the corner, and then Hamilton gets past him again. So
I don't understand.
So he
what
goes
the
in and then
swerve was
moves
before.
away, and then Magnussen. Well, Magnussen didn't give him room there. Hamilton couldn't go any further over to the left-hand side. Magnussen knew he was there because he'd already moved over to the right. Then obviously he would want to carry on that racing line, as it were, but there wasn't room for him to be where he was without touching the Mercedes, because they did touch.
I just don't know what the swerve was before he went into turn 13. I don't know why he swerved before and then backed out of it and then went in again to take his racing line.
I think he saw Hamilton there. Well, I've got to give him a bit more space, but then didn't give him any space.
We need to look back further than that as well to see if there was any aggro from a few corners before that. You know, was that the aftermath of something that happened before? But either way, unnecessary.
Thank you, Ed. Sun's setting here in Baku, but the discussions will carry on for a while, I'm sure. Charles Leclerc, fastest man on the track, as he was this morning, actually, before the red flag stopped the session, with about an hour and 20 to go. Leclerc 3/10 ahead of his teammate Sebastian Vettel. Mercedes were Lewis Hamilton nearly 7/10 back. Max Verstappen 4th fastest ahead of Valtteri Bottas. Danny Kvyat was 6th fastest, but he crashed and finished the session walking back to the pits. Pierre Gasly we saw lock up a few times, but many drivers did out there. Tyre warm-up and lack of grip, very much an issue on a very dusty track that got colder as the session went on. Behind the top 10, Kevin Magnussen, who got involved in a bit of argy-bargy with Lewis Hamilton there right at the end. We saw Giovinazzi going off and spinning. We saw Daniel Ricciardo's session end early because he just used up all his tyres because he'd flat-spotted. Lance Stroll had an early crash. That ruled him out for the rest of the session. George Russell didn't take part after his incident with the manhole cover earlier this morning.
Well, plenty going on there in that second practice session. As you'd expect around this green track in Baku, not a lot of grip and many of the drivers getting caught out. We'll wrap up what happened in that second practice session and the reason why we didn't have an opening practice session. Well, not much of it anyway, from 4 o'clock back in the UK on Sky Sports F1. On Saturday, qualifying's from 1, the F1 show from 4:45, and on Sunday, lights out at 1:10. We're on air from 11:30, and we've got all this to look forward to.
What about the current crop of drivers? Who do you most sort of identify with or relate to or compare yourself to?
To be honest, I'm not very comparing myself to anyone now in F1. It's, well, obviously to my dad, where I compare myself to and see what he done and which steps he took.
Tell you what, it's not every Thursday you get Journey sweets as well. Look, I brought some sweets along for you. I've got some Haribos. So, what for you? You got some Journey sweets?
Candy man.
I am the candy man.
Would you trade 2 of your existing world championships for 1 more world championship with Ferrari?
No. Maybe I'm a bad dealer, but yeah, no, I wouldn't, because I'm convinced that I can win with Ferrari. So.
You're going to win it anyway. You're going to win
exactly. No need to trade.
Good stuff. Right, Cyril Abiteboul is alongside me. Cyril, it's been, I suppose, a tricky old day, to say the least, with everything that happened with the manhole cover and then a pretty green track for the second practice session. How do you assess it?
No, exactly. Well, it's the same for everyone, so we can't complain about it really. We just need to take one step at a time. We are coming a long way also from our reliability issues, so we are also trying to understand the trade-off between competitiveness and then reliability, but also wing level. We were coming here with a low downforce package. We're not sure that this is the right thing, at least not for today, given the grip level. We just need to think about tomorrow and Sunday in particular, because I mean it's not for Friday running that we want to optimize things. So we need to make a good decision for the rest of the weekend.
Okay. Looks like you lost a lot of track time as well, Daniel. I think flat spotted both his sets. Is that gonna impact tomorrow and how you plan to run FP3?
That's certainly not helping, because we, having lost FP1, we want to do the most of FP2. But as I was mentioning, we've been suffering the same problem as everyone else with tire temperature, braking stability. We've seen a couple of people going into the escape zone. Didn't break anything, but indeed that impacted the simulation for Sunday. So we will have to look at what the other cars have been doing in order to build our strategy options. But again, we have a lot to cover overnight.
We had, well, we heard over team radio, Nico Hulkenberg also saying that it was unloading over under braking. Is that a similar problem that they both had out there? Is it just a...
Exactly, yeah. Well, they were on the same wing level, both of them. The plan was to do something different if we had obviously the opportunity of FP1, which was not the case. So we elected to go for the two of them. Same setup, but I don't think that this is a setup we will retain for the rest of the weekend.
You can see Ferrari have come here with more wing than most people. Can you see the impact of that on the GPS data in the middle sector? Is that where you think you can improve?
Well, we've not seen that yet, but we will have a good look indeed. Well, you know that it's a very tricky track because you want to combine very slow section, you know, the old city with a very fast section, so it's all about compromise. We were almost at the top of speed traps, which is not really what we were expecting. So if this is the case, it means something regarding our wing level. So I think we will go more towards the Ferrari setup for the rest of the weekend.
Cyril, did we see something fall off the back of Nico Hulkenberg's car? Have a look at this. What was your take on it? What was it?
I think my understanding is that it's a transponder.
Okay.
So we had elected just before that went up, we had elected to call the car, to stop the car for obviously a safety reason and reliability reason. But actually it went off before Nico came back to the pit.
Okay. Overall, hopes for the weekend now. I mean, I know what you're saying, trying to get things...
Ask me again tomorrow, frankly.
Okay, all right. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Let's head to the Sky Pad. Anthony's there.
So yeah, just going to have a look at this Lewis Hamilton and Kevin Magnussen situation coming out of turn 12. Here we are. Now he puts the car to the inside, and when he does, I'll rewind that slightly, because when you put the car to the inside, obviously the driver can see in their rearview mirror at this point. He'll be able to see at this point that Hamilton is there. But he moves over like that, as if to say, don't even try it. And if we go to the off-board shot, we'll see it even clearer. The thing that I find really bizarre is that he's looking with the head sort of tilted to the inside. He knows that Hamilton is there, and he swerves before coming back out and then committing to the corner right there. I don't get what that swerve is about before taking almost his normal racing line and catching Hamilton out. But yeah, I'm sure. I mean, the hand goes up in the cockpit from Kevin Magnussen. That's on the apex itself, and afterwards he puts the hand up as if to say, like, why are you overtaking me? But I mean, you're free to overtake. I just don't know what that swerve was all about before committing into the corner. We haven't gone further back in the lap to see properly, but yeah, I'm sure the stewards are definitely going to be having a closer look and a word with Kevin Magnussen and Lewis after that situation.
Don't mess with K-Mag round here. Anyone remember what happened with Gasly last year? He'll put you into the wall. At least he'll squeeze you. I mean, he was accused of being dangerous last time around.
I think last year he overstepped the mark, and I think, you know, when you look back, if it were a steward or driver steward, you've got to look and say almost potentially a race ban. I mean, the fact that Gasly... for last year.
Time. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
And to do it in the same track, and it came up in conversation with a few drivers this week, what happened last year in terms of how the race planned out, and that came up, and they just said it always takes it a little bit too far. I'm a fan of what Kevin did last year in terms of how the speed, how he developed, you know, and how he really developed as a driver against Grosjean. But little things like that just make you question where it is. But at the same time, he's a hard racer, and he said he doesn't think outside, you know, the boundaries. You know, he's not scared of anybody out there, and showed that. But in testing, do you really need to be doing that? And like Ant said, that swerve before gives you an indication he knows Lewis is there, and then the hand gesture after, obviously. Okay. Clearly complaining.
No. There were a couple of, well, a lot of hairy moments, but a couple more than others. Let's have another look at how Lance Stroll, well, he get away with it in turn 2, but he just got caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, I mean, you've got all this space in these runoff areas. They're a get out of jail card, but at the same time, you need to commit to them earlier. He's not committed early enough, and he's ripped the front left corner off. That's impacted his weekend going on because he's lost extra track time. And then Danny Fiat, he was pushing. It was the end of the session. He still ended up P6, so a very good job by him. And the Toro Rosso looking solid, actually.
It's got all the ingredients though here, hasn't it? The fact it's dusty, it's gusty, it's green, there's slow drag, low downforce. I mean, in and out of the shadows.
It's mega, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just all the way through the sessions, you never know what's going to happen.
Okay, right, that's us done. It's been a bit of a strange old day, opening day here in Baku, with the fact that we hardly had any running in the opening practice session because of that manhole cover coming off. But It was Charles Leclerc who was quickest in the second practice session. We'll wrap it all up, if you missed any, in the story so far, from 4 p.m.
Sky Sports F1. Feel it all.